In the heart of New York City, a bank heist takes place in the middle of the day. The perfect heist, because in the end, after several days of siege, the police have no evidence, no victims, no suspects, and not even what is called a crime. Dalton Russell proclaims he has committed the perfect bank robbery. A small group of masked painters enter the bank, dressed in white coveralls, caps, and sunglasses. Suddenly they lock the doors, and with shouts order everybody to lie on the floor, then set fire to a smoke bomb and to the street cop who runs up to the front door. The ringleader, with a wild foreign accent, declares that there are hostages and a bomb in the bank.
I have got hostages. You fucking cops come near this door, I start killing people.
Detective Frazier is one of the best, but has a reputation problem. Getting into an unpleasant situation, he is accused of embezzling $140,000 from the crime scene. But he did not take anything. The drug dealer simply set him up to save his own skin. Negotiating with the robbers trust him and his partner, and they go to the scene. Mr. Arthur Case, the owner of the bank, is informed of an attack on their branch. At first he is not very upset, but when he is told that the branch number is 32, he immediately became nervous. The police team led by Detective Frazier arrives and finds out that the bank's CCTV cameras were disabled 1 minute before the heist. The police do not know neither how many hostages in the bank, nor how many robbers, nor what is happening there. Meanwhile, the robbers gather all the visitors and employees and force them first surrender all their keys and mobile phones, and then undress to their underwear and don coveralls identical to their own. The hostages must also put on special masks over their eyes, like those used for sleeping. One of the hostages becomes ill. He says he's choking and has cardiac asthma. Without thinking twice, the robbers let him go. The owner of the bank, Arthur Case, hires fixer with exclusive authority Madeline White. The owner tells that it is essential for him to protect the contents of his safe deposit box number 392, and he preferred that no one touch it. Madeline asks to know what's there, but Case says that what's inside is very valuable only to him and poses no danger whatsoever to anyone. White informs him that the people with whom she will have to negotiate are armed, and she cannot promise anything, but takes up the case. In between all of this, we are constantly shown scenes of interrogation of the hostages that occur after these events with heist.
Steven, Stevo, Stevie.
And they called you what?
They didn't call me anything. They just told me to speak.
You're lying to me.
Meanwhile, robbers arrange construction work inside the bank. Detective Frazier calls the criminals on the phone, but the gang leader does not pick up the phone. The police say the cameras were turned off at about 10 o'clock, and for 2 minutes they do not know who was going in and out of the bank. A couple of hours later, they release another hostage with a message of demands. They ask for 2 buses with full gas tanks and 1 fuel jumbo jet at Kennedy Airport. The authorities only have until 9 p.m., and then they will start killing 1 hostage an hour in front of TV cameras. Bank is secured with Semtex, and they will blow it up if necessary. After a while, the doors of the bank open again, and the robbers report that 50 hungry people need food and water. The police decide to send them a pizza and put a listening device to understand the situation inside and maybe find out something. In order to completely cover their tracks, the robbers put hostages in several rooms and from time to time shuffle them while planting gang members posing as hostages in the same coveralls and masks. Having received a recording from the listening devices that slipped into the food, they assume that it is Russians because they cannot make out the speech and understand what kind of language it is. The interpreter who arrived at the scene says it's not Russian, so eventually they turn on the speaker and ask people on the street who knows this language. It turns out it's Albanian.
Albanian.
My man, like I told you, 100% Albanian.
Wait, you're telling me the former president of Albania is in there robbing a bank?
Enver Hoxha is dead.
Detectives realize that the robbers simply turned on the recording for them, knowing that they would eavesdrop on them. Dalton and his partner open that very safe deposit box, taking some documents from it, and meanwhile the mayor of the city arrives at the scene to the detective. The mayor introduces Fraser to Madeline White and asks the detective to allow her to participate in the process, while reminding him of his Madrigada case, where $140,000 is missing in the arrest, hinting that the woman should be given full authority on the spot. The detective finally gets through to the gang leader, and they manage to talk.
This time next week, I'll be sucking down pina colada.
More like taking a shower with two guys named Jamal and Jesus, if you know what I mean. And here's the bad news. That thing you're sucking on, it's not a pina colada.
Dalton says if Fraser doesn't provide what they need by the specified time, then he might as well send a hearse. By the evening, Madeline White gets inside the bank thanks to a detective and communicates with the ringleader. It turns out that the founder of the bank made his fortune cooperating with the Nazis during the Second World War. In safe deposit box number 392 were stored documents indicating his military ties, diamonds, and an extremely valuable ring. Dalton hunted for documents, deciding to keep them for himself and perhaps later blackmail the owner of the bank with them. To Madeline's offer to give up the contents and then get $2 million at large, he refuses, saying that he will get whatever he wants anyway by walking right out the front door of the bank. Fraser tries to find out what the conversation was about, and Madeline says whatever he's up to, he's not gonna kill. He's not a murderer.
I got news for you. Most of the guys up in Sing Sing weren't murderers until they kill somebody. You never know what a person will do until you push them into a corner.
Fraser says we have been constantly trying to buy time, but realizes it's actually the robbers themselves are stalling. He gives them deadlines, they stall, he gives them more time. Detective calls the bank and wants to make sure the hostages are okay. Once inside and realizing the hostages are safe, the policeman tells Dalton there will be an assault soon. But Dalton believes it's a load of crap. No one will order an assault as long as all the hostages are alive and there is no threat to their safety. At one point while leaving the bank, Fraser attacks Dalton, but an accomplice manages to run up and the fight quickly ends. Some time later, Dalton calls the detective and asks him to look at the CCTV camera. The police watch as they kill the hostage with a shot to the head. After the incident, the head of the police department arrives at the scene and reports that the case has gone too far. The hostage is killed, and Fraser is relieved of his authority to lead the operation and hands him over to Darius, who leads the Special Forces group. The police begin to work out a plan for an assault. As a result, they realize it's gonna be really hard for them to tell the robbers from the hostages until they shoot at them, and even if it isn't rigged with explosives, it's still gonna be a meat grinder, so they decide to use rubber bullets. In the morning, Fraser guesses it's not what it looks like. Robbers don't need the plane and wonders why they were stalling. He finds a listening device in the box with a first message and realizes that the robbers have been listening to the police all this time and knew about everything. Fraser informs Darius that it is necessary to cancel the assault, but unfortunately does not have time, and the SWAT blows up the main doors of the bank, at which point the hostages begin to run out of there and they are all detained. Once inside, the police find absolutely nothing, no robbers, no dug tunnels, and nothing is missing. In addition to all, it turns out the weapons the robbers left behind are toy guns, and the hostage murder was staged. The police do not know neither how many hostages were in the bank, nor how many robbers, nor what really happened there. Criminals mixed up with other prisoners left the bank building unspotted, and the police cannot prove anything.
We photograph everybody that came out of the bank. We sit them down, we question them.
What about Prince?
Everywhere. So what?
It's like the thing never happened.
Bury it.
Captain, this thing stinks to high hell. I mean, somebody did something here.
Nobody's breathing down my neck to come up with answers. I'm not going to breathe down yours. Bury it.
Okay. There's no 392.
Huh?
Safety deposit box number 392, according to these records, it doesn't exist.
Pinstripe mayonnaise lying motherfucker.
Fraser tries to find out what was Arthur Case hiding in the safe deposit box and goes to Madeline White. He shows her dirt, the same conversation in the car where the mayor blackmailed him in order to give White all powers and get her inside the bank to talk to the leader of the robbers. Madeline says nothing to the detective except that all conditions are met. Fraser will move up the career ladder. He will be cleared of charges with the Madrigada case, and he will receive first detective degree. She says the case, like many rich people, made his entire fortune during the war and asks him to drop the matter. Herself, Madeline, goes to Case and tells him the detective turned out to be quite sharp, but she just fast-tracked his career a little and now he is under control. The bank owner wants to know where the envelope with the documents, to which White says the robbers took everything from the safe deposit box. If they blackmail Case, he will just have to pay, and he will return his envelope. The bank owner says he's satisfied with everything, but White says it's bullshit. The robbers left the bank without taking $1 from the vault. Therefore, there was something else in the safe deposit box besides documents, and this something else, as it turns out, to be diamonds and an unusually rare Cartier ring. This ring belonged to the wife of a French banker. Arthur was a friend of this family, a family of French Jews. During the Second World War, they were sent to a concentration camp. Case could have helped them by having huge connections, but according to him, the Nazis paid too well. Arthur Case sold his soul by taking too much to heart to Baron de Rothschild's saying, which said that when there is blood on the streets, buy property. Meanwhile, at Detective Frazier's request, safe deposit box 392 is opened in the bank, but it turns out to be empty, except for garbage and the ring with a note left by Dalton. Follow the ring. The essence of the robbers' plan was that their ringleader, Dalton Russell, remained inside the bank building. The robbers slightly rebuilt the bank's utility room and organized there a secret hideout, where he remained for a week. The rest, criminals mixed up with other hostages, left the bank building unspotted. Dalton crawled out of his hideout a week later. The bank had already restored normal work, mingling with bank visitors. Dalton calmly walked out the front door as he had promised Detective and Madeline White earlier, running into Frazier, who had just come to check the very same safe deposit box, number 392.
You're not gonna tell me how you're planning to get out of here, are you?
I'm gonna walk right out the front door. Anything else?
The result is a perfect robbery, in which there is no evidence, no victims, no crime. The case itself is closed. The robbers got there by pulling diamonds and documents out of the safe deposit box that at any given time will help them get almost any amount of money, and the bank owner, Arthur Case, will never report the loss, avoiding publicity of his past in order to preserve his reputation.
Then the Zeit, the vinegar zoot, the robbers disappear. Poof. And they don't take a nickel, right?
You asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you. I mean, it's your bank.
I have no idea.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
I'm afraid I can't be of any further use to you, Detective.
In the last moment of the movie, we are shown how Frazier comes home, where his beloved girlfriend is waiting for him. He discovers a diamond in his pocket. Dalton, as he was leaving the bank, as if he knew he was going to run into the detective, and planted diamond in his pocket. Earlier, when Frazier came into the bank during the robbery, the detective told Dalton that he had a girlfriend. He wants to marry her, but he is too broke. Frazier asked the ringleader maybe he should rob a bank to get on with his life, to which Dalton replied to him that money shouldn't really matter, which as a result we see at the end. Money wasn't the main thing they had arranged the robbery for. The phrase had two meanings: the answer to Frazier's question about what the robber is after, and the answer to his story about poverty and love.